and that's the number we came up with. And if we needed more than that, he said he would be happy to make more copies.
Yeah, unless, going back to our minutes we just adopted, you suggested that we had 9 copies made each time. See, that's why I'm confused about the number
That's
6.
because that's what this gentleman had said, and
Yeah.
they
That
talked about
that would
it.
be 3 going to the library and 6 here. That's 9 copies.
Well, we only need to send.
We
2.
can change. We can change the number. We can change the number to 9. The
Yeah,
number is of no consequence to me. I'm just trying to.
So there will be a copy at the village for anybody out there, anybody up here that wants one. Just fill the form out, pay your $1.50, $2, and get your copy. I mean, does council feel we're going to give out more than?
Well, that's what we're saying. Why not just have 6 copies for council, and if the council member doesn't want them, pass them on. I'm sorry, I don't see the problem with having them up here for council members.
Do you have a problem filling out the form
No, I don't
to get
problem
one?
filling out the form.
Well, I would raise it to 9, and there'll be plenty in the office, and whoever wants one up here can fill out a form and get the. That way, it's fair to all the residents and everybody up here.
Yep. We also have to find out if that changes the cost any.
Gentleman said right there. But that change.
We don't want
I
to
think
take
that would
DVDs
get-
from it. We didn't purchase it.
Would the 9 make a difference?
No.
All right. Okay, no. Man has spoken.
All right. So we have a first and a second. Who made the first?
Bob.
Bob. Would you amend it to 9?
I didn't know we had a number in the first place.
It was 6.
Did we quote one?
Yeah.
Okay, 9. I'll make the amendment to 9.
I'll second it to 9.
Okay. So, still in the discussion phase. Any other discussion before we move to a roll call to adopt? Okay. Roll call to adopt ordinance number 2010-39.
Derek,
Yay.
Todd,
Yay.
Renee,
No.
Tim,
Yay.
Bob,
Yay.
Chuck.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, next item we have on the agenda is an executive session for discussion of personnel matter pursuant to revised code 121.22. Now, what?
It's related to an investigation of a public employee.
Okay. Since the videographer hasn't been here before, when we move to an executive session, basically what you're going to do is once we adjourn, you can just focus the camera right there, put it on pause. When we come back out, just when we re-adjourn, just go back to work. One of the reasons for those who are in attendance tonight, we hold the executive session until later in the meeting, is because we don't want people to have to sit through it. You're welcome to stay. We do have some more meeting to go through at the end. We do have some more content to the meeting after this. You're welcome to stay. Just want to let you know it could be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We try to make it reasonable for people. You don't want to sit here all night long. So for what it's worth, we'll in just a moment I'll ask council to adjourn, and we'll be behind closed doors in an executive session for whatever period of time it takes till that item is discussed thoroughly. So at this time, I would ask the council for a motion to adjourn to executive session regarding discussion of internal investigation of a public employee.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion or roll call? It would be, discussion or questions is what I was trying to say, and I was, we'll go for a roll call, please.
Derek,
Yay.
Todd,
Yay.
Renee,
Yay.
Tim,
Yay.
Bob,
Yay.
Chuck.
All right, we'll adjourn to executive session at 7:54. Ask the solicitor to join us. All right. Ask for motion to reconvene for the December 6, 2010 council meeting after executive session at 8:24 p.m.
I'll make the motion, we have
Reconvene.
We reconvene. Adjourn, please.
Your second, please.
I'll say.
Been in that too long.
Todd, did you second?
Yes.
Yes.
Discussion? Roll call.
Derek,
Yay.
Todd,
Yay.
Renee,
Yay.
Tim,
Yay.
Bob,
Yay.
Chuck.
Yeah.
I just, if the record could reflect, I did contact the attorney's representative today to make sure that she understood, the attorney understood that there was an executive session on this matter, and the employee and the attorney refused the offer to make the executive session public. The statute requires that if there's any discussion of an employee matter, that that employee be advised and the employee be offered the opportunity to have that in a public session. The employee was so advised and refused that invitation. So I just want the record to reflect that.
Give Bill a chance to get that down. It's a whole mouthful of $2 words. Let me know when you're ready.
I'll have to get a copy of that DVD.
Already becoming useful. You go home at night, watch that. Take that.
Are you ready, Bill? You ready? Okay. Move on down to the agenda. Next item on the agenda, we put Bill on the spot right now with the fiscal officer's report.
Okay. Thank you. You have in your packet an updated report showing the status of Fund 2021, the State Highway Maintenance Fund. We made progress of $1,219.75 in the month of November through revenues. I did transfer the $7,500 from the general fund into Fund 2021 per ordinance 2010-25. I also reallocated $10,261.58 in expenses from the fund to the other road-related funds. And what that means is there are three funds that kind of mirror each other that can be used for road-related expenses. And so that I'm afraid we would get dinged on audit if we showed expenditures from the fund when it, after the audit adjustments, it showed a negative balance. So I reallocated those funds from 2021 to 2011 and 2101, which are the other two funds, so that we now show zero expenses from that fund for the year. That being said, we now show zero money spent from that fund during 2010, and the fund balance at the end of November stands at minus $12,300.13. I estimate that the fund will return to a positive balance in September or October of 2011 with no additional funds being transferred in, because we average about $1,250 a month in revenue into that fund. Linda Shealy has successfully reconciled the mayor's court account. By that, what I'm referring to is the ordinance we passed to make the adjustment. That has been done, and I'm happy to say that she was able to quickly reconcile the account. Moving forward, there may be the need to create an unclaimed funds account because we have 5 old checks from that account that have never been presented to our bank for payment. The total is only about $40 or $41, as I recall, for the 5 checks, but they are hanging out there. So I've been in contact with the auditor's office, and they said we may have to start an unclaimed fund for that. Unclaimed monies fund. The Finance Committee met for several hours on November 27th and worked on temporary appropriations for 2011. Each line item was discussed to formulate the temporary appropriations. Just prior to this meeting, the Finance Committee met, and we've approved the recommended appropriations, which I put a copy at everybody's desk. The committee has attempted to scale back the appropriations where possible to 80-85% in an attempt to reach the 90-day cash reserves. We'll discuss those in just a moment, but I will have an ordinance prepared for the December 20th meeting to formally adopt the 2011 temporary appropriations. At some point, probably in February, the appropriations will be tweaked and made permanent for the year. One additional item that will affect revenues for 2011 is that in 2010 the general fund received $20,000 in estate taxes, and it looks like there will not be any estate tax revenue received in 2011. The reason I state that is because it is a nice chunk of money, but we traditionally get a letter from the treasurer's office about 6 months prior to any disbursement in estate tax monies. And typically, by now, we would have a letter on hand if that were going to be the case for the following year. And we don't have a letter on file, so at this point, I'm not anticipating any revenues in that area for 2011. And as we look forward to 2011, council needs to keep in mind that the cost of health insurance will impact the appropriations. The new health insurance law that went into effect September 23rd will limit what changes the village can make to its coverage and still be grandfathered from some of the new regulations. However, one change for the good was announced. As of November 15th, 2010, the employer now has the freedom to change insurance carriers and still remain grandfathered. And prior to that, that was not the case. We also need to stay tuned to the discussion that will be beginning soon on the state budget. With projected $8 billion deficit looming, there will more than likely be some sort of revenue reductions that will affect all local governments' budgets mid-year. And on a positive note, I compared the revenue status for 2010, and here are the figures for the most active funds. The general fund has received $9,000 more than originally budgeted for 2010. The street-related funds have received $3,800 less than budgeted, but will most likely receive the budgeted amount by year's end, because we do have a couple of receipts that come in the last week of the month for those funds. The police fund has received $24,000 more than was originally budgeted. I will have expenditure reports for the next meeting that will compare the past 5-year history on that. That's all I have as far as my formal report goes, but to go back to the temporary appropriations, everybody has a document. I've got one somewhere. It looks like this. This was not in your packet. This was what the Finance Committee formally took a look at our meeting this evening. Most of the work was done in our meeting on November 27th, and I filled in the blanks in between. We had a goal of trying to keep the appropriations at 85% of what we project we'll have available, and these temporary appropriations have met that goal. There's a couple line items that I'm not sure would make it through the year, but these will be tweaked as we go anyway, because the fund balances for January 1st are estimated at this point. So when we know what they actually are, that will have a bottom line effect on what we can make our permanent appropriations based on. But I feel pretty confident that they'll be darn close. That being said, we went down the line and increased what needed to be increased, decreased what we thought we could, held the line on what we thought we could, and the figures that you have in front of you represent the combined thinking of myself and the Finance Committee. Items that, to me, that stand out. One of our, I think probably the largest expense, the largest single expense in the general fund is our street lighting cost. It was budgeted at $48,000 for this year. I think I previously mentioned that we're going to have 6 new ones come online at some point, because I remember signing a plat several months ago for a developer that was putting them in a new street, and the estimated cost for that was going to be another $3,000 per year. And this past month, the charges were increased by Duke, so we've increased the appropriations from $48,000 to $53,000 on that line item for the year. I'm pretty confident that'll make us through the year, but there's not much extra there. Then everything else is pretty comparable to what it was this year. I'm sure we'll have a couple of unknowns. The committee doesn't have anything in here